Hi everyone, we're Mimicker, here to introduce all kinds of knowledge, even the stuff we didn't know about. Today we're embarking on a really fascinating journey into the world of a creature that has, well, pretty much captivated homes across the globe. The leopard gecko, you see them everywhere now, don't you?
Yeah.
Those charismatic little spotted wonders. But yeah, beneath their often docile demeanor and those vibrant patterns, there's just a universe of profound scientific mysteries and some truly astonishing adaptations. Why does a seemingly simple lizard hold so much depth? That's exactly what we're going to try and uncover in this deep dive.
Indeed. Our focus today is Eublepharis macularius, the leopard gecko. And our mission really is to move far beyond just the basics of pet ownership. We want to truly explore the evolutionary marvels, the intricate secrets of their wild behaviors, the astonishing genetics that fuel their diverse appearances, and, well, a reproductive strategy that's genuinely unique in the animal kingdom.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, we've meticulously gathered a stack of sources, everything from primary scientific research to expert notes, and our goal is to distill the most important insights, the surprising facts, and the actionable knowledge directly from that material.
So think of this as your shortcut, maybe.
Exactly. A shortcut to gaining a comprehensive, nuanced understanding of these captivating creatures, from their arid desert origins right through to the ethical considerations that shape modern pet keeping.
That sounds like a journey I'm definitely ready for. So let's begin by exploring the biological marvels of these creatures.
Right.
How they represent like an evolutionary tapestry woven with these incredible adaptations.
The popular appeal of the leopard gecko is just undeniable, isn't it? Their generally docile temperament, that incredible range of coloration we see, and their relatively simple care requirements have made them almost universally ideal for beginners in the reptile world. It's no surprise they hold the distinction of being the first widely domesticated lizard species. But from a purely scientific standpoint, what exactly is a leopard gecko, taxonomically speaking? That's a fundamental question, right? Taxonomically, Eublepharis macularius is classified under the domain Eukaryota, kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Reptilia, order Squamata, family Geckonidae, and the genus Eublepharis.
Okay.
The specific name, macularius, is derived from the Latin word macula, which means spot. And, well, as you can see, it's a very filling description of their natural pattern.
Makes sense.
They are terrestrial, meaning they're ground-dwelling, and primarily crepuscular active during those twilight hours of dawn and dusk. Their native habitat stretches across the arid shrublands and rocky plateaus of Central Asia, so think Afghanistan, all the way to parts of northern India and Pakistan.
Wow, quite a range.
It is. And what's truly remarkable, really a testament to their adaptability and frankly prolific breeding in captivity, is their least concern status on the IUCN Red List. This means that pretty much every leopard gecko you encounter as a pet is captive bred.
Which is good for wild populations.
Exactly. It significantly reduces pressure on wild populations, a really positive outcome for conservation, actually.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? How their popularity in our homes actually helps protect them in the wild. Now, focusing on their unique morphology and physiological adaptations, what are some of the truly distinctive features that make leopard geckos stand out, even among other gecko species? They're quite sizable for geckos, aren't they?
They absolutely are. Compared to many of their gecko cousins, Eublepharis macularius are quite robust. Hatchlings typically emerge at a length of about 6.5 to 8.4 centimeters.
Tell me.
Yeah, weighing a mere 3 grams or so. But they grow quite quickly into sizable adults, reaching lengths of 20.5 to 27.5 centimeters and weighing somewhere between 45 and 65 grams. It's quite a transformation from hatchling to adult.
And their eyes are particularly striking. Is there something unique about them compared to other geckos?
Yes, their eyes are one of their most distinguishing features. You see, unlike most other gecko species, which have fixed, transparent scales covering your eyes, kind of like built-in goggles, leopard geckos possess movable eyelids. This unique trait allows them to blink and close their eyes, giving them a very expressive quality and, practically speaking, enabling them to keep their eyes clean and moist.
Huh. I never realized most geckos couldn't blink.
It's true. Another defining feature, or perhaps a notable absence, is the lack of specialized adhesive lamellae on their claws. You know how many geckos are famed for their ability to scale smooth vertical surfaces?
Yeah, like climbing walls.
Exactly. Well, the leopard gecko's claws are not equipped for that. This absence means they are strictly ground-dwelling. They simply can't climb glass or polished walls, which is a really important consideration for their enclosure design.
And then there's that tail. It's so thick and fleshy, really an iconic part of their appearance. That's a real hallmark of a healthy gecko, right?
It truly is. The tail is arguably one of their most remarkable morphological features. It acts as a critical storage site for fat and water.
Like a camel's hump, sort of.
Kind of, yeah. It's an incredibly important adaptation for survival in their arid natural habitat, where food and water can be scarce for extended periods. Because of this vital role, the tail also serves as a key indicator of their overall health and nutritional status.
Ah, yeah.
A healthy, well-nourished gecko will invariably have a plump, rounded tail. It's a clear sign of proper fat reserves and hydration. Conversely, a thin or emaciated tail is often the first and most visible signal of potential malnutrition, dehydration, or maybe other underlying health issues. It's like a living barometer of their well-being.
So their tail is essentially their strategic pantry and water cooler, perfectly designed for desert life. And speaking of the desert, we know they're ectothermic, meaning they rely on external heat to regulate their body temperature. How does this fundamental biological characteristic play out in their daily lives, especially concerning something as vital as digestion?
Right, as ectothermic animals, their body temperature is entirely dependent on the external environment. And this has profound implications for every aspect of their daily existence and survival, especially their metabolism.
So they can't just generate their own heat.
Exactly. During the intense heat of the day in their native arid regions, they retreat into burrows or rock crevices, seeking shelter from the sun's harsh rays. Within these cooler, more stable microclimates, they can absorb residual heat and strategically manage their energy. They then emerge and utilize this stored warmth to fuel their nocturnal or crepuscular hunting activities and, crucially, to power their digestion when ambient temperatures become more suitable, typically at dusk or dawn.
Ah, so they need the heat after they eat, too.
Precisely. This reliance on environmental temperature means there's a direct and critical link between sufficient external warmth and the speed and efficiency of their internal processes. Without adequate heat, vital functions like intestinal peristalsis, those wave-like muscular contractions that move food through the digestive tract, much like squeezing toothpaste from a tube.
Good analogy.
Thanks. And the effective enzymatic breakdown of food simply cannot occur efficiently. This is why providing a precise temperature gradient in captivity isn't just about comfort. It's a fundamental necessity for their physiological well-being, directly impacting their ability to absorb nutrients and thrive.
That's a really important distinction for anyone considering a leopard gecko. It's not just about warmth for warmth's sake, but about enabling their entire internal system to function optimally. Okay, let's shift to their keen sensory capabilities and fascinating defense mechanisms. How do these senses allow them to navigate and survive in their challenging wild environment?
Well, their sensory prowess is highly evolved, finely tuned for survival in a variable and often predator-filled environment. They possess excellent hearing and vision, which are absolutely vital for their nocturnal activities,
Even in the dark.
especially in the dark or low light. Their large, prominent ear openings, protected by a tympanic membrane, allow them to detect the subtle movements of prey, even tiny insects, and equally important, to evade predators. Beyond hearing and sight, their sharp senses of taste and smell also play an indispensable role in locating food and navigating their surroundings. And of course, their natural coloration provides excellent camouflage. Wild individuals typically exhibit duller, grayish, or yellowish-brown patterns that allow them to blend seamlessly into the rocks and sparse vegetation of their arid surroundings. This provides a stark contrast to the vibrant, almost unbelievable colors we see in captive-bred morphs.
Right, those morphs are stunning, but not very practical in the wild. Speaking of defenses, let's talk about the incredible feat of tail dropping. It's such a dramatic defense mechanism. What exactly happens when they perform caudal autotomy, and how does it benefit them?
Caudal autotomy, yeah, the voluntary shedding of their tail, it's arguably their most astonishing defense. When a leopard gecko perceives a significant threat, like if its tail is grabbed by a predator, or even under extreme stress from other geckos during intense mating or feeding interactions, it can rapidly and voluntarily detach its tail at specific fracture planes within the vertebrae.
Voluntarily. They choose to do it.
It's a reflex, but yes, it's under their control in that sense. The truly astonishing detail here is that the severed tail can continue to twitch, sometimes quite vigorously, for up to 30 minutes.
30 minutes? No way.
It's incredible. This sustained, erratic movement is an incredibly effective diversion. It creates a vivid, wiggling decoy that utterly captivates the predator, buying the gecko precious moments to make its escape. It's an ingenious, self-sacrificing survival strategy.
That's just wild, a wiggling decoy. So what happens after that? Here's where it gets really interesting. Because they can regenerate, right? What exactly regenerates, and how quickly does this remarkable process occur?
You're absolutely right. Following autotomy, the leopard gecko exhibits truly remarkable regenerative capabilities. They don't just regrow a new tail, they can also completely regenerate their spinal cord within that new tail.
The spinal cord, too.
The spinal cord, too. Scientific studies have identified a special type of stem cell within their spinal cord known as radial glia. When the tail is lost, these radial glia cells are activated. They rapidly proliferate and differentiate into new neural cells, producing various growth factors and proteins that ultimately form a complete, functional, new spinal cord section within the regenerating tail.
Wow.
This entire astonishing regenerative process is typically completed within about 30 days, which is remarkably faster than in many other lizard species. Now, the regenerated tail might look a bit different. It's usually shorter, blunter, and lacks the original precise ringed patterns. But its basic functions, including fat storage, are fully restored.
That is genuinely mind-blowing. A complete spinal cord regeneration in 30 days. That naturally begs the question, what are the implications for human medical research here? We struggle so much with spinal cord injuries and regeneration.
This is precisely where the leopard gecko's regenerative ability becomes profoundly significant for human medical research. For decades, human spinal cord injury research has faced monumental challenges, primarily due to the mammalian body's natural tendency to form dense scar tissue at the injury site.
Right, the scarring blocks regrowth.
Exactly. This scar tissue actively impedes nerve regeneration and functional recovery, creating a significant barrier to healing. But the gecko offers an entirely different playbook. Unlike mammals, their radial glia cells, instead of contributing to scar formation, actively promote the regeneration of new neural tissue. The core insight here is that this humble gecko isn't just regenerating a tail, it's providing a master blueprint for how we might someday overcome paralyzing spinal cord injuries in humans.
That's incredible.
In-depth research into the specific molecular signals, genetic pathways, and regulatory mechanisms that activate these radial glial cells and guide their rapid and complete differentiation could, quite literally, lead to breakthrough strategies for treating human spinal cord injuries. It highlights the immense potential of basic scientific research, even on what might seem like a simple reptile, to unlock innovative solutions for some of our most complex medical problems in applied fields like regenerative medicine. It truly demonstrates how understanding the molecular secrets of life, wherever we find them, can have a transformative impact on human health.
It's incredible to think that a creature we keep as a pet could hold the key to such a profound medical mystery. That's the sheer power of scientific inquiry. Now, let's transition into how these biological marvels manifest in their daily lives in the wild. We've established they're crepuscular, but what's their actual routine like in their arid landscape? How did these adaptations play out?
Well, in their natural habitat, these adaptations dictate their very existence, shaping their behaviors for optimal survival. As we noted, they are strictly terrestrial and primarily crepuscular, meaning their most active periods are during the twilight hours of dawn and dusk. This behavioral pattern is a direct, ingenious response to their environment.
So not strictly nocturnal, then?
Not strictly nocturnal, no. More active at the edges of the day. During the harsh desert day, when temperatures can be extreme and a wider array of predators are most active, they wisely remain hidden. They retreat into burrows or rock crevices, escaping the intense heat and minimizing their exposure to dangers. It's only when the ambient temperature becomes more favorable, cool enough for activity but warm enough for metabolism precisely at dusk or dawn, that they emerge from their shelters to hunt, forage, and engage in other essential activities. This precise timing isn't random. It's an incredibly efficient strategy for energy utilization and thermoregulation, critical for an ectothermic animal like the leopard gecko. Their entire energy budget is managed by these crepuscular movements.
That makes perfect sense. They're essentially managing their energy and avoiding the midday extremes. What about their diet and their predatory strategy? Are they specialized eaters in the wild?
They are indeed highly specialized. Leopard geckos are strict insectivores. Their entire digestive system is uniquely designed to process and break down insects and only insects.
Nothing else? No plants?
No plants, no fruits, nothing like that. In the wild, their diet consists primarily of crickets, various species of roaches, mealworms, superworms, and other insects and arthropods they can find. This preference for live insects extends into captivity, where they often refuse dead prey due to their natural hunting instincts triggering on movement. It's important to understand that their intestinal structures simply cannot effectively break down plant fibers, nor can they digest cooked human food or chunks of meat. Their physiology is entirely geared towards insect consumption.
Good to know.
When they hunt, their keen senses are paramount. Their excellent hearing and vision, particularly the tympanic membrane we discussed, are crucial for precise nocturnal prey location, allowing them to pinpoint and ambush their meals effectively even in low light. They are opportunistic hunters, basically waiting for prey to come within striking distance.
So their senses are finely tuned hunting instruments. And what about their social behavior in the wild? Do they live in groups or do they prefer a solitary existence?
They definitely prefer a solitary existence. Leopard geckos are generally solitary creatures. They do not typically cohabitate with other animals in the wild and rarely interact with their own kind, except for the necessary interactions during the breeding season.
So no gecko parties then.
Huh. No, not really. Male leopard geckos, in particular, are known to be highly territorial. They can engage in quite fierce conflicts when competing for territory or access to mates. The solitary and territorial behavior isn't just a quirk of their personality, it's a deeply ingrained survival strategy that has evolved to reduce direct competition for often limited natural resources within their sometimes harsh environment. It minimizes energy expenditure on social interactions and maximizes individual foraging efficiency.
So what does this all mean when we bring all these aspects together, their adaptations, their behavior, their daily routine? How are their behavior and physiology so intricately linked in this close coupling you mentioned?
Yeah, there is a truly close coupling between the leopard gecko's behavioral patterns and its physiological needs. They are inextricably intertwined. Their choice to be active during those crepuscular hours at dawn and dusk isn't simply about avoiding extreme temperatures or predators, though those are certainly significant factors. As ectotherms, their entire digestive process is profoundly dependent on external temperature. They require sufficient environmental heat for effective intestinal peristalsis, that muscular movement of food through their gut, and for the efficient enzymatic breakdown and absorption of food nutrients.
Back to the digestion link.
Exactly. Therefore, their daytime rest within burrows where they absorb and retain ambient heat is a crucial physiological strategy. It allows them to accumulate the necessary energy to fuel their nocturnal hunting activities and, vitally, to power the subsequent digestion of the food they consume. This behavioral strategy ensures an incredibly high efficiency in energy acquisition and utilization, which is essential for maintaining the physiological balance of a poikilothermic animal. This deep integration of behavior and physiology isn't just fascinating, it reveals how natural selection sculpts a species' survival strategies, and importantly for us in captivity, it provides a crucial scientific basis for providing precise temperature gradients. Understanding this link is fundamental to truly responsible care, allowing us to mimic the functional requirements, not just the aesthetic.
That's a powerful connection, understanding how their daily choices are literally fueling their bodies. Now, let's transition to something equally captivating. The mysteries of their genetics. When you look at captive-bred geckos, the stunning color variations are just incredible. It's like an artist's palette has exploded.
Yeah.
How do they produce all these diverse colors and patterns?
The diversity in leopard gecko coloration truly is astonishing, isn't it? You see base colors ranging from incredibly bright yellows to warm brownish oranges, and their bodies can be partially or fully covered in unique spots and patterns. These rich and varied colors are produced by specialized pigment-containing cells called chromatophores.
Chromatophores, okay.
These cells are found in many reptiles, amphibians, birds, and even some insects, allowing for rapid color change in some species, though not typically in leopard geckos. Unlike mammals, which primarily rely on melanocytes for coloration, the mechanism in reptiles is far more complex, involving several types of chromatophores working in concert. We have melanophores, which produce black and brown pigments. Those are responsible for their spots and darker markings. Then there are erythrophores for red pigments and xanthophores for yellow and orange hues.
Okay, different colors, different cells.
Exactly. But here's where it gets truly intricate. We also have iridophores, sometimes called gronophores. These cells contain crystalline purines that act like tiny mirrors or prisms, reflecting and refracting light to produce unique structural colors, giving that iridescent sheen or specific sparkle you might observe, especially in certain morphs. It's a symphony of pigment cells and light interaction working together to create their stunning appearance.
So it's not just about different pigments, but also different ways of reflecting and refracting light. That's incredible. And because they've been one of the first domesticated lizards, breeders have really been able to run with this, creating all these morphs. What kind of genetic patterns are at play here, and what makes them such a great model for genetic study?
Precisely. Their ease of breeding in captivity created the perfect conditions for extensive selective breeding. Through purposeful breeding programs spanning decades, keepers have been able to select for and consistently reproduce specific color, pattern, and even size traits, leading to the vast number of distinct morphs we see today. The market is absolutely saturated with this incredible variety.
It really is.
And they exhibit diverse genetic inheritance patterns, making them a living laboratory for genetics. For instance, we have recessive morphs like the Murphy patternless and blizzards. For these traits to be expressed, the gecko must inherit 2 copies of the specific mutated gene 1 from each parent, leading to the elimination or significant reduction of body spots.
So both parents need the gene.
Correct. Then there are dominant morphs, such as Enigma and W and Y, white and yellow, where only a single copy of the mutated gene is sufficient for the trait to be expressed. If a gecko inherits just 1 copy, it will display the characteristic. It gets even more nuanced with incomplete dominant morphs, like the Mac Snow. In these cases, the heterozygote, 1 copy of the gene, and the homozygote, 2 copies of the gene, forms produce different phenotypes, both distinct from the wild type. For example, a single dose of the Mac Snow gene makes the gecko appear paler, while 2 doses make it even whiter, often with reduced pattern.
Interesting.
We also see codominant morphs like giants, where the heterozygote expresses traits from both parent alleles simultaneously, resulting in a larger size than either parent morph. And finally, there are polygenic morphs, such as SHTCT, which stands for superhypotangerine carrot tail. Here, the trait is not determined by a single gene, but by the complex additive interaction of multiple genes working together.
Wow, it's complex.
It really is. This selective breeding has not only given us visually stunning diversity, with examples like carrothead, lavender, paradox, and snowglow, but it has also made the leopard gecko an excellent living model for genetic research. It allows scientists to directly observe and learn about complex inheritance patterns in a real-world dynamic context, almost like a living genetic textbook.
That's truly insightful, how they become a model for genetic study. But this also raises an important question. While we see incredible diversity and beauty achieved through this selective breeding, are there any downsides? I imagine when you push for extreme traits, there can be unforeseen, potentially negative consequences.
That's a crucial point, and unfortunately, yes, there can be significant downsides. The pursuit of aesthetic diversity, while yielding breathtaking results, has also led scientific research to uncover potential health problems associated with certain selectively bred morphs. The lemon frost morph is a very prominent and, frankly, cautionary example that directly illustrates this.
Lemon frost, okay. I've heard of that one.
This morph, first discovered around 2012-2013, produces an exceptionally bright, vibrant yellow coloration that uniquely extends even to the gecko's belly and lower jaw, accompanied by a distinctive white iris. It caused quite a sensation in the reptile community and was auctioned for a high price in 2015 due to its novel appearance. However, subsequent scientific studies have since clearly linked the lemon frost phenotype to severe tumor issues, specifically iridophromas.
Tumors from the color gene.
Tumors of the very iridophore cells, those light-reflecting pigment cells we just discussed. Pathological examinations have shown that even heterozygous individuals, those carrying just 1 copy of the lemon frost gene, exhibit underlying iridophore metastasis, indicating that the cancerous cells are already beginning to spread microscopically throughout the body. In homozygous individuals, those with 2 copies of the gene, the metastasis is macroscopically visible, meaning you can often see the tumors with the naked eye. The skin of lemon frost geckos, particularly in tumorous areas, has an abnormally high density of iridophores, which appears to be at the root of the problem. Further gene mapping studies have strongly associated this condition with a specific mutation in this SPINT1 gene. The hypothesis, based on current research, is that this mutation doesn't necessarily affect how much of the SPINT1 gene is expressed, but rather impacts the translation process or the actual activity of the protein it encodes. This disruption then leads to the abnormal proliferation and metastasis of those iridophore cells.
So the gene does 2 things: color and cancer risk.
Exactly. So while the mutated gene bestows that beautiful, vibrant color, it simultaneously disrupts the normal growth and differentiation regulation of these pigment cells, ultimately leading to tumor formation. This is a classic example of pleiotropy, where a single gene can influence multiple, seemingly unrelated traits, in this case, both desirable coloration and undesirable tumor development.
That's a truly profound example of the double-edged sword of artificial selection. The pursuit of aesthetics can unintentionally introduce or exacerbate serious genetic defects. So, what critical lesson does the lemon frost story offer us about responsible breeding and animal welfare?
It's a critical lesson, not just for breeders, but for anyone involved in animal husbandry. The history of leopard gecko genetic breeding, particularly the health issues revealed by the lemon frost morph, truly illustrates this double-edged sword. While human pursuit of specific aesthetic traits through selective breeding has indeed created breathtaking biodiversity, it has also, quite unintentionally, introduced or exacerbated serious genetic defects or health problems associated with those very traits. This phenomenon of pleiotropy, as we discussed, means that a gene selected for a desired aesthetic characteristic can simultaneously have detrimental effects on health. Therefore, the lemon frost story serves as a critical reminder that when engaging in selective breeding, animal welfare and health should always be considered as important, if not more important, than aesthetic value.
Health first.
Absolutely. It highlights the necessity of in-depth scientific research into the potential health associations of specific morphs before they become widespread. This knowledge is crucial for providing more responsible and ethical guidance for future breeding practices, ensuring that our desire for unique appearances doesn't come at the cost of the animal's long-term well-being and quality of life.
That's a really sobering thought and a vital one for anyone involved in animal care. It's not just about what looks good, but what ensures a healthy, full life for the animal. Now let's shift gears to something equally curious, but entirely different. How leopard geckos decide if they're male or female. What's truly fascinating here is it's not chromosomes. It's all about temperature.
You've hit on one of the most intriguing aspects of leopard gecko reproductive biology, temperature-dependent sex determination, or TSD.
TSD, right?
Unlike mammals, where sex is determined by the presence of specific sex chromosomes like XX for female and XY for male in humans, for leopard geckos, the incubation temperature during a critical period of embryonic development is the absolutely key environmental factor that determines their sex. TSD is actually quite common among other reptiles, particularly crocodilians and many species of turtles.
Yeah.
Leopard geckos specifically exhibit what's known as pattern 2, TSD. Think of it like this. If you plot temperature on a graph and track the resulting sex ratios, males are predominantly produced at intermediate incubation temperatures.
In the middle.
Right, in the middle range. While females are produced at both lower and higher temperature extremes, it creates a sort of unique W or U-shaped curve for sex production relative to temperature.
Weird. So hot and cold make females, medium makes males.
Pretty much, yes. And this temperature influence goes far beyond just sex determination. Scientific research has further revealed that incubation temperature has a profound and lasting impact on the adult leopard gecko's endocrine physiology.
Yeah.
For instance, females that are incubated at male-producing temperatures end up having significantly higher androgen levels, that's a type of male hormone, and significantly lower estradiol levels, which is a key female hormone compared to females incubated at female-producing temperatures.
Even as adults.
Even as adults. This is a very clear indication that early environmental temperature has a long-term organizational effect on their gonadal development and overall hormonal balance, shaping them far beyond just whether they have male or female anatomy. It's almost like temperature sets a hormonal predisposition for their adult life.
So temperature isn't just a simple switch. It's almost like a long-term programmer for their internal chemistry and even their behavior.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Do we have specific temperature data from scientific studies that precisely illustrate this relationship between incubation temperature and sex ratios?
We do, and the data is quite precise, stemming from extensive experimental research. For instance, at an incubation temperature of approximately 26 degrees Celsius, or about 79 degrees Fahrenheit.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, relatively cool. Nearly 100% of the halflings will be female. Interestingly, at the other extreme, around 34 degrees C or 93 degrees air, quite warm, the offspring are also predominantly female, clearly showing that pattern 2 curve in action.
Okay, so those are the female zones. What about males?
For male-biased temperatures, research indicates that incubating eggs at approximately 32.5 degrees C, or 90.5 degrees air, yields a strong male predominance with ratios that can reach up to 75% male offspring.
Not 100% though.
No, interestingly, no single temperature seems to guarantee 100% males. If you're looking for mixed sex ratios around 30 degrees C or 86 degrees Airth, the female hatchling ratio is about 70%, and generally within the broader range of 29 to 31 degrees C or 84 to 88 degrees Airth, you'll typically get a mix of male and female offspring.
And does temp affect how long they take to hatch?
Absolutely. Incubation temperature also significantly affects the incubation period itself. Lower temperatures, like 24-27 degrees C, result in much longer incubation times, typically stretching from 50 to 70 days. Higher temperatures, around 31-33 degrees C, result in much shorter incubation times, often between 31 and 37 days.
That's a lot of precise data that breeders must find incredibly valuable. So how do breeders actually use this information in captive breeding, and what other effects does this temperature control have on the offspring beyond just their sex? It sounds like there could be long-term behavioral impacts too.
Oh, it's an incredibly powerful tool for breeders. In captive breeding, they can absolutely utilize these principles of TSD by precisely controlling incubation temperatures to influence the sex ratio of the offspring, aligning with their specific breeding goals, whether that's producing more females for egg laying or more males for specific genetic lines. However, the influence of incubation temperature on offspring is far from limited to just determining their sex. Studies have shown it can also have profound and long-term effects on the behavioral performance of adults.
Like how?
For example, research has demonstrated that females incubated at those lower 26 degrees C female-producing temperatures exhibit more frequent aggressive and non-receptive behaviors towards males in adulthood.
Really? Just from the egg temperature?
Yes. And this holds true even if their ovaries are removed on the day of hatching, which strongly indicates that ovarian hormones during the embryonic stage, influenced by that precise incubation temperature, play a crucial organizational role in shaping adult social behavior. This effect extends well beyond simple sex determination, affecting their entire adult personality and interactions.
Wow.
To induce the breeding season, breeders often simulate natural seasonal changes. They might shorten the photoperiod, the amount of daylight, and gradually lower the temperature gradient in the enclosure, maintaining the warm zone at around 21-24 degrees C for about 6 weeks before introducing a breeding pair.
Kind of tricking them into thinking winter passed.
Exactly. Once the female lays her eggs, they must be carefully removed from the lay box and then placed into a dedicated incubator with a suitable incubation medium, typically moist vermiculite, to precisely control the temperature throughout the incubation period. The mechanism of temperature-dependent sex determination in leopard geckos is far more complex than a simple switch for sex allocation. It reveals how environmental factors, such as temperature, can act as powerful organizers during early development. They not only direct the course of gonadal development, but also profoundly influence the endocrine balance and the patterns of social behavior in the adult individual.
So it shapes their whole being in a way.
You can think of it as the embryo's exposure to specific temperatures during critical developmental periods, activating different gene expression patterns or hormonal pathways. This, in turn, shapes the developmental trajectory of the gonads and further influences the sexual differentiation of the nervous system, ultimately leading to behavioral differences in adulthood. It's quite analogous to the organizational effects that sex hormones have on the brain in mammals.
Fascinating comparison.
Therefore, the leopard gecko serves as an incredibly valuable biological model for studying the intricate relationship between environmental factors and developmental plasticity. It also serves as a critical reminder for captive breeders. When selecting an incubation temperature, they should consider not only the desired sex ratio of the offspring, but also the potential long-term impacts on their overall health and behavioral traits. It's about more than just numbers. It's about the well-being and behavioral disposition of the animal.
That's such a powerful point about developmental plasticity and the long-term impact of even subtle environmental factors during development. It truly elevates our understanding of these creatures from simple pets to complex biological subjects. Now, let's pivot from the science of their biology to the science of their care. How do we translate all this incredible understanding into crafting a healthy micro-ecosystem for them? Because while they are adaptable, improper care leads to some very common and serious problems, doesn't it?
Absolutely. While leopard geckos are indeed highly adaptable in a captive environment, which has contributed greatly to their widespread popularity, ensuring their long-term health and well-being absolutely hinges on designing and managing their micro-ecosystem based on sound scientific principles. You're right, improper husbandry is a leading cause of a range of preventable health problems affecting their eyes, skin, and bones. The core principle here isn't just about replicating nature in miniature. It's about designing a precisely controlled environment that directly supports their biological needs and proactively prevents potential health risks, drawing directly from the physiological understanding we've just discussed.
Okay, science-based care. So let's break down the scientific basis for their environmental setup. What's the optimal enclosure size and layout for these terrestrial creatures?
For an adult leopard gecko, the absolute minimum enclosure size is typically considered to be 45 centimeters long by 30 centimeters wide by 30 centimeters high, which is roughly equivalent to a 10-gallon aquarium.
That sounds small.
It is, really. And while it's a minimum, to provide ample space for activity, exploration, and, crucially, to establish an effective and varied temperature gradient, a much larger enclosure is strongly recommended. Something like 90 by 60 by 60 centimeters or a 3 by 2 by 2 foot tank is much more ideal.
Much better.
This larger size allows for more complex landscaping. The layout within this enclosure should mimic the complexity of their natural habitat, offering a variety of microenvironments for them to choose from, including open spaces, hiding spots, and areas for climbing on appropriate surfaces, remembering they aren't great climbers on smooth stuff.
Right. And temperature. We've discussed how critical it is for their digestion and overall physiology. What's the precise gradient and heating setup they need to thrive?
Temperature control is paramount for these ectotherms. It's really the cornerstone of their health. During the daytime, the enclosure must have a distinct warm side and a cool side to allow for thermoregulation. The ambient air temperature on the warm side should be maintained between 30 and 32 degrees C, that's 86-90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Warm side, 30-32°C. Got it.
While the ambient air temperature on the cool side should hover around 22 degrees C or 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
Cool side, 22°C.
Crucially, there should also be an ideal basking spot. This is an area where the gecko can directly absorb radiant heat, and it should be maintained at a slightly higher surface temperature of 30-35 degrees C or 90-95 degrees Fahrenheit.
A specific hotspot.
Exactly. At nighttime, the temperatures should naturally drop to simulate their desert environment. If the ambient room temperature falls below 15 degrees C or 59 degrees Fahrenheit, a non-light emitting heat source, such as a ceramic heat emitter, should be used and set to a lower temperature to prevent chilling and facilitate continued digestion, mimicking a natural nighttime cool down without becoming too cold. The most common and recommended heating methods are either an under-tank heater, UTH, which warms the substrate from below, or a ceramic heat emitter, CHE, which provides overhead radiant heat without light, crucial for nocturnal animals.
UD8 or CHE.
And this is vital. A thermostat is absolutely essential to precisely control the temperature of these heating elements. This prevents dangerous overheating, which can cause severe burns, or underheating, which compromises their digestion and overall health.
Thermostat. Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. And on that note, and this is critical for any gecko keeper, heat rocks should be completely avoided. Despite being marketed for reptiles, they are notorious for causing severe, often life-threatening, burns due to their localized, unregulated, and often uneven heating, which can create dangerously hot spots where a gecko might linger.
Wow, okay. Definitely avoid heat rocks. That's a major life-saving takeaway. What about humidity? They're desert animals, so I assume low ambient humidity is key, but I also hear about the need for a humid hide. Can you explain that balance?
You're right. As desert reptiles, leopard geckos do not require high ambient humidity throughout their entire enclosure. An ideal range is typically 30–40%. Environments that are either too humid, leading to bacterial or fungal growth, or excessively dry, can lead to significant health problems, including shedding difficulties, desiccatis, various skin diseases, and potentially a weakened immune system.
So 30–40% overall.
Right. However, to ensure proper shedding, which is a regular and vital process for them to remove old skin, a humid hide box must be provided. This hide should be filled with a moisture-retentive substrate like sphagnum moss or cocoa fiber, which is kept consistently damp, not soaking wet, but damp.
Okay, a special damp box.
Exactly. This creates a localized, high-humidity area, around 70–80% humidity inside the box, that the gecko can access as needed, especially when it's preparing to shed, without affecting the overall lower humidity of the rest of the enclosure. The moisture helps loosen the old skin, making it easier for them to shed cleanly. As a practical tip, the water dish should always be placed on the cool side of the enclosure to minimize evaporation and its impact on the overall humidity levels, helping maintain that appropriate ambient range.
Okay, so a humid hide is non-negotiable for healthy shedding. What about substrate choice? I've seen a lot of debate about this, especially regarding sand. What's the scientific recommendation, and why is it so contentious?
Substrate. Yes, it's absolutely critical for a leopard gecko's health, and it's an area where popular misconceptions often clash dramatically with scientific and veterinary evidence. The recommended safe substrates are non-particulate options: paper towels, newspaper, reptile carpet, slate tile, or even vinyl flooring.
Things they can't swallow.
Precisely. These are excellent choices because they are easy to clean, cannot be accidentally ingested, and crucially pose no risk of internal blockage. Now, to address the contentious debate you mentioned, high-risk particulate substrates like sand, calcium sand, and crushed walnut shells should be completely avoided.
Avoided completely. Why?
The reason for this firm recommendation is the extremely high risk of impaction. This is an intestinal blockage that can be fatal if not promptly treated. While some care guides or older information might suggest using sandy substrates to mimic their natural habitat, from a veterinary and scientific health perspective, impaction is a serious and preventable threat in captivity. Although a healthy, well-cared-for gecko will not typically ingest substrate intentionally, the risk of accidental ingestion always exists, especially during enthusiastic feeding when an insect might drag particles along with it, or if the gecko is exploring its environment with its tongue. These fine, indigestible particles can accumulate in the digestive tract, forming a solid mass that blocks the passage of food and waste, leading to severe discomfort, loss of appetite, lethargy, and eventually death.
That sounds awful.
It is. Furthermore, many of these high-risk substrates can also create irritating dust, which can lead to eye problems, respiratory issues, and further difficulties during shedding. So, while sand is natural in their vast wild environment where they can likely avoid ingesting large amounts, in the confined space of an enclosure, it becomes a serious, preventable health hazard. Prioritizing the animal's long-term health and welfare means opting for safer, non-ingestible options.
That's a really important clarification. Safety over superficial mimicry, especially when the consequences can be so severe. What about hides and environmental enrichment? They're nocturnal crepuscular, so I guess they need places to chill out during the day.
Exactly. As crepuscular and nocturnal animals, leopard geckos absolutely require ample hiding places. These aren't just for comfort, they're essential for them to feel secure, reduce stress, and properly regulate their body temperature during daylight hours. You should provide at least one hide on both the warm side and the cool side of the enclosure, allowing them to choose based on their thermoregulatory needs at that moment.
One warm hide, one cool hide. Minimum,
yes. More is often better if space allows. Additionally, incorporating rough textured elements like cork bark, securely placed wood, or rocks isn't just decorative, it significantly enriches their habitat. It provides opportunities for climbing or exploration on non-smooth surfaces, and offers vital abrasive surfaces for the gecko to rub against during shedding, which helps them remove old skin cleanly and prevents stuck shed.
Good point about shedding help. And lighting. For primarily non-daylight animals, do they even need special lighting, like UVB? I thought that was mostly for diurnal reptiles that bask in the sun.
That's a common and very understandable question, and for a long time the answer was thought to be no. While it's true that as crepuscular and nocturnal animals, leopard geckos don't have the high requirement for intense, direct UVB lighting that, say, a sun-loving bearded dragon would.
Right.
The latest scientific research indicates that they can indeed utilize low-intensity UVB light to synthesize vitamin D3. This D3 is absolutely essential for calcium absorption, preventing debilitating conditions like metabolic bone disease.
So they can use it even if they aren't basking all day.
Exactly. Therefore, providing a low-intensity UVB light, such as a 5.0 fluorescent bulb or a small compact fluorescent UVB, for about 10-12 hours a day, is actually beneficial and increasingly recommended by experts. The D3 synthesized naturally through UVB exposure is generally considered safer and more effectively utilized by the gecko's body than relying solely on artificial D3 supplements. However, it is equally important to ensure the enclosure has plenty of shade and cover lots of hides, foliage, etc. This allows the gecko to self-regulate its exposure to the UVB light and avoid prolonged direct light, which could otherwise cause skin irritation, dermatitis, or abnormal shedding from overexposure. It's about providing the option for beneficial exposure, not forcing continuous exposure.
So even for a nocturnal creature, some UVB can be beneficial, provided they can escape it. Fascinating. Let's move to nutrition and feeding. What's the optimal fuel for a healthy gecko? Are they strict insectivores, or is there more to their diet?
They're absolutely strict insectivores. Their digestive systems are specifically designed to break down the chitin and proteins found in insects, and their diet should consist entirely of live insects. Suitable and commonly used feeder insects include crickets, mealworms, superworms, silkworms, and various species of small roaches like dubia roaches.
Live insects only.
Preferably live, yes, as it triggers their hunting response. A crucial rule of thumb for feeder size is that the insects should never exceed the width of the gecko's head, measured between their eyes. This prevents choking and aids in proper digestion, as very large prey can be difficult to manage and potentially cause regurgitation or impaction.
Good rule. No wider than the space between the eyes. I hear the term gut loading tossed around a lot in reptile keeping. What exactly is that, and why is it so important for a leopard gecko's health?
Gut loading is a critical and non-negotiable practice for leopard gecko nutrition. It means feeding the feeder insects themselves a highly nutritious, species-appropriate diet before you offer them to your gecko, usually for 24 or 48 hours beforehand.
Feeding the food.
Exactly. This diet for the insects should include high-quality fresh vegetables like carrots, squash, leafy greens, some fruits in moderation, and specialized insect foods or grains that are rich in vitamins, minerals, and calcium. The purpose is to ensure that when your gecko eats the insect, it's not just consuming the insect's basic nutritional value, but also all the beneficial nutrients that the insect has just ingested and processed. This ensures your gecko indirectly receives a much more complete and balanced range of nutrients, as feeder insects alone are often not nutritionally complete, especially in terms of their calcium to phosphorus ratio, which is usually quite poor.
So you're basically turning the insect into a nutrient delivery vehicle.
That's a perfect way to put it. And tying back to what we discussed earlier, the digestive physiology of a reptile is intrinsically linked to ambient temperature. Leopard geckos require sufficient heat to aid in intestinal digestion, nutrient absorption, and the crucial process of calcium metabolism. Therefore, maintaining a stable and appropriate temperature in the enclosure, particularly keeping that warm zone at 30-32 degrees C, 86-90 degrees ARA, is vital. This ensures effective calcium absorption and overall digestive function. Without proper heat, even a well-gut-loaded insect might not provide its full nutritional benefit, as the gecko's body won't be able to efficiently process and extract the nutrients.
That temperature link to digestion is so fundamental to everything, isn't it? Now, about supplements. Calcium, vitamin D3, multivitamins. Why are these so critical, especially for gut-loading our feeder insects?
It's an excellent question, as it highlights the fundamental differences between a wild and captive environment. In the wild, leopard geckos obtain calcium from a very diverse range of insects, and potentially by licking calcium-rich soil or even ingesting discarded eggshells or maybe even small vertebrate bones. They naturally synthesize vitamin D3 through exposure to sunlight or specific UV wavelengths.
Cryptic basking, maybe?
Possibly, yes, brief exposures. And that D3 is absolutely essential for calcium absorption from their diet into their bloodstream and its subsequent utilization for bone health. In captivity, however, their diet is typically much less varied, consisting of only a few types of commercially raised insects, and they often lack natural sunlight or sufficient UVB lighting, even if we provide some. Furthermore, the clean captive environment lacks those natural incidental calcium sources. Therefore, supplementing with calcium and vitamin D3 is absolutely essential to prevent deficiencies. A long-term deficiency of these key nutrients can lead to the most common and serious disease in captive geckos, metabolic bone disease, or MBD. This debilitating condition is characterized by softened bones, painful bone deformities, muscle twitching, tremors, paralysis, and even spontaneous fractures, and it's entirely preventable with proper supplementation.
MBD sounds terrifying, so how do we supplement correctly?
Okay, the practical aspects. Vitamin D3 is crucial because it facilitates the absorption and utilization of calcium in the body. If you are providing appropriate UVB lighting in the enclosure, you should lightly dust feeder insects with a pure calcium powder, without added D3 at most feedings. This is because the gecko is synthesizing its own D3 from the UVB.
Okay, UVB is calcium without D3.
Correct. If you are not providing UVB lighting, then you must use a calcium powder that contains D3, also dusting insects at most feedings. Some products offer nanocalcium powder, which has finer particles and is claimed to improve absorption efficiency, though good standard powders work well too.
No UVB co-calcium with D3.
Exactly. In addition to calcium and D3, a high-quality reptile multivitamin powder should be supplemented, say, 1-2 times per week. This ensures the gecko receives other essential trace elements and vitamins like vitamin A, E, etc., compensating for the inherently limited variety of feeder insects available in captivity compared to a wild diet.
Okay, so calcium D3 often, multivitamin sometimes. How much powder?
For the mixing ratio and frequency, it's generally recommended to mix calcium powder with or without D3 as appropriate, and multivitamin powder. You should lightly coat the feeder insects with a small amount of this mixture, ensuring only a thin, barely visible layer of powder. Think powdered donut light, not breaded chicken heavy.
Light dusting.
Very light dusting. For juveniles, those from 0-6 months, and subadults from 6-10 months, it's recommended to use calcium with appropriate D3 at pretty much every meal. And the multivitamin maybe 2-3 times a week, as they're undergoing rapid growth and require more nutrients. For adults, those 10 months and older, calcium, with D3 if needed, can be used maybe 3-4 meals per week, and the multivitamin 1-2 times per week. Adjust frequency based on the gecko's appetite, reproductive status, females laying eggs need more calcium, and overall body condition. Finally, to help prevent D3 overdose, which can happen, and allow for self-regulation, a shallow dish of pure calcium powder without any D3 can be left in the enclosure at all times. Geckos will often lick it as needed, effectively self-regulating their calcium intake, ensuring they always have access to this vital mineral without risking too much D3.
Little calcium bowl, good tip. That's a fantastic, clear summary of the nutritional requirements. Finally, let's talk about scientific prevention and health monitoring of common diseases. It sounds like prevention is at the very core of all this responsible husbandry.
Prevention truly is the core principle of scientific husbandry. Leopard geckos are unfortunately prone to eye, skin, and bone problems under improper care, but the good news is these are largely preventable. Therefore, a correct environmental setup, balanced nutrition, and appropriate lighting, all the aspects we've just discussed, are absolutely fundamental to disease prevention, significantly reducing the need for costly and stressful veterinary treatment later on.
Makes sense. Proactive is better than reactive.
Absolutely. Let's quickly run through some common diseases and their prevention. Metabolic bone disease, MBD, as we've stressed, is the most common and serious, primarily caused by a lack of bioavailable calcium and vitamin D3. Prevention. Adequate calcium and D3 supplementation following the guidelines, provide appropriate UVB lighting if not using D3 in supplements, and maintain stable, appropriate enclosure temperatures to promote proper digestion and nutrient absorption.
Okay, MBD prevention, calcium, D3 UVB, heat.
Correct. Impaction is another serious concern, usually caused by the gecko ingesting inappropriate particulate substrate like sand or crushed walnut shells that can't be digested. The preventive measure is simple and absolute. Use a safe, non-ingestible substrate like paper towels, tile, or reptile carpet.
Impaction prevention, safe substrate.
Right. Then there's stuck shed or disagesis. This often results from insufficient humidity in the enclosure, which makes the old skin stick, especially around toes and the tail tip. Prevention is providing that vital humid hide we discussed. If stuck shed is found, especially on their delicate toes, it must be carefully and gently removed, often by soaking the gecko in shallow, lukewarm water for 15-20 minutes and gently teasing the skin off with a cotton swab. If left, it can constrict blood flow and lead to necrosis tissue death, which can cause toe or tail tip loss.
Stuck shed prevention, human hide. Careful removal if it happens.
Exactly. Obesity can also be an issue stemming from overfeeding, especially fatty insects like waxworms too often, or a lack of activity space and environmental enrichment. This puts a significant strain on their internal organs and can shorten their lifespan. Prevention involves controlled feeding portions and frequency, choosing leaner staple insects, and providing adequate space and environmental stimulation. Remember, a healthy gecko's tail should be plump and rounded, but not excessively fat or bulging at the base.
Obesity prevention, portion control, good feeders, space enrichment.
Precisely. Parasites, both internal like pinworms or protozoa and external like mites, can occur from unclean feeder insects or an unhygienic environment. Preventive measures include ensuring a clean, reputable source of feeders, regularly and thoroughly cleaning the enclosure, spot cleaning daily, full clean periodically, and quarantining and conducting fecal tests on newly acquired individuals to prevent introducing pathogens to existing collections.
Parasite prevention, cleanliness and quarantine.
Yes. We also have stick tail disease, which isn't one specific disease, but rather a symptom complex. It's characterized by an abnormally thin tail and general emaciation, and it can be related to severe malnutrition, heavy parasitic infection, other underlying diseases like cryptosporidiosis or digestive issues. Prevention focuses on providing a balanced, gut-loaded diet and promptly addressing any underlying causes through veterinary diagnosis. If it occurs, the gecko should be isolated to prevent potential spread, the environment thoroughly cleaned and disinfected, and under veterinary guidance, treatment might involve supportive care like boosting temperature slightly, assisted feeding, hydration, and specific medications depending on the cause.
Stick tail prevention, good overall health and vet care you've seen.
You also mentioned enigma syndrome earlier when we talked about genetics. What exactly is that, and how does it relate to care and responsible breeding?
Right, the genetic issue.
Enigma syndrome is a very specific example of a health issue directly tied to selective breeding. Certain genetic morphs, particularly the enigma morph itself, and some morphs derived from it, though not all geckos with enigma lineage show symptoms, may exhibit neurological issues. These can range from mild head tilting or wobbling to severe circling, stargazing, head held back, difficulty hunting, stress-induced seizures, and a general lack of coordination or balance.
That sounds distressing.
It can be, and the severity varies greatly. This is considered a potential side effect of the selective breeding that created these morphs, believed to be linked to the gene's effect on neurological development, possibly affecting the inner ear or brain structure related to balance. Preventing such problems requires keepers to be fully aware of the potential risks associated with specific morphs before acquiring them, and breeders must adopt a responsible attitude in their breeding practices, prioritizing animal health and welfare over purely aesthetic traits. Many ethical breeders avoid breeding enigmas or lines known to exhibit severe symptoms. It's a direct consequence of the genetic manipulation, highlighting the complex interplay between genes and health.
A very clear example of the need for ethical breeding.
Absolutely. Finally, for daily health monitoring, close, attentive observation is crucial. You should observe your gecko daily for any changes in appetite, energy level, the appearance of their feces should be formed dark with a white urate part, their overall body condition, especially tail thickness, and any signs of injury, abnormal swelling, unusual lumps, issues with eyes or shedding. Regular health checkups with a qualified reptile veterinarian, maybe annually, are highly recommended for preventative care and early detection of issues. For newly acquired geckos or those that have been in contact with other individuals, it's especially important to quarantine them for a period, say, 30-90 days, in a separate room and screen for parasites and infectious diseases before introducing them to your main setup. And if a gecko ever drops its tail, the wound should be kept dry and clean. Housing them on paper towels is ideal. The gecko should be housed separately in a simple, sterile environment to prevent infection and stress from tank mates, and its recovery should be closely monitored until the new tail begins to grow back, ensuring it continues to eat and drink normally. The core philosophy of scientific leopard gecko husbandry, really, is not simply to replicate their wild environment aesthetically in an enclosure, but to meticulously design a micro-ecosystem based on a deep, nuanced understanding of their biological needs and potential health risks. This requires keepers not only to be familiar with the gecko's natural habits, but also to use scientific evidence to weigh and optimize environmental parameters like substrate and lighting. For example, although sand is part of their natural habitat in the confined space of an enclosure, it can become a serious health hazard leading to impaction due to limited space and feeding patterns. Similarly, while leopard geckos are primarily crepuscular nocturnal, scientific research has revealed the benefits of low-intensity UVB lighting for their vitamin D3 synthesis and overall health. Therefore, responsible keepers must continuously learn and adapt, moving beyond common myths and superficial mimicry to ensure the long-term health and well-being of their animals in captivity. This science-based approach to husbandry reflects a profound respect and care for other life forms and is a vital direction for the development of modern pet keeping.
What an incredible journey we've taken through the leopard gecko's world, from their amazing desert adaptations and their astonishing regenerative powers, particularly that complete spinal cord regeneration, which is just mind-blowing, to the genetic marvels that create such diverse appearances, and that powerful, often surprising influence of temperature on their development and behavior. Is truly a complex universe within a small, spotted creature.
Indeed. There are so much more than just pets, aren't they? They are living science lessons that prompt us to reflect on the immense biodiversity of our planet, the incredible potential of scientific research even in unexpected places, and crucially, our ethical obligations as we interact with and care for other living beings. They are a testament to adaptation, the intricate dance of life, and the profound impact of even seemingly small environmental factors.
Our shared responsibility, then, is to ensure these captivating creatures not only survive, but truly thrive under our care, guided by science and empathy, constantly learning and improving our methods based on the best available knowledge. So what more can we learn from seemingly simple creatures like the leopard gecko? And how does our growing scientific understanding compel us to refine our stewardship of the natural world, both in our homes and beyond? It's a question that asks us to continue exploring the intersections of science, ethics, and coexistence, pushing the boundaries of what we understand and how we care for the world around us. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.